Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, this is Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Did you know that brilliance is your birthright? Claiming our brilliance is key to our spiritual awakening because it's a recognition of the divine within. This is incredibly empowering because on the one hand, you no longer need to seek outside of yourself in order to have love or worthiness or validation. And on the other, you no longer need to compare yourself to someone else to feel better about yourself. Your internal strength from a spirit perspective liberates you from feelings of self-doubt to non-worthiness. So today we're going to be talking about what it means to claim our brilliance, how to do that, and what to watch out for along the way. After the discussion, we're going to wrap it up with the group frequency calibration to help you clear your distortion patterns around this topic so you can continue to accelerate forward. So let's get started. Dennis?
You know, what was really exciting about your intro, Karen, is the fact that, so many of us spend so much time and energy and resources searching and seeking and searching and seeking. And your message is that game over. It's within.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, when we begin, I did this as well, is we seek outside of ourselves because we think it's elusive. We think it's over there somewhere and that we're somehow not worthy of it. So we have to chase it, right? So we're chasing this thing that we're seeking. We don't even really know exactly what it is. We just know we're compelled towards it. And then really part of the acceleration really begins when we realize it's already within us. And what I mean by it is that we are part of the all that is. It animates us. Pure source animates us. We are it. It is us. You can't separate the two. And once you realize that it is within us, it totally changes the game because now, as opposed to feeling like you have to chase something external, it's already there within you. And that changes everything.
You know, but one of the things I just thought about when you said that is duct tape.
Okay, the duct tape. All right.
So is that something that kind of, because it's within us,
Yeah.
but it's not just that easy
Yeah.
to recognize it or to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, and you mentioned doing the GFC to remove the distortion so we can really claim that brilliance.
Yeah.
So why is it so difficult?
Yeah, so there's a lot of lineage patterns. So when you talk about the duct tape, just to take everyone back to episode 1, the duct tapes are the layers and layers of distortion patterns around the sphere of pure source energy that's vibrating at an individuated rate, which is us. So the challenge with the claiming the brilliance within, as you say, is it's difficult to see within because we're so consumed or influenced by these distortion patterns. A lot of the distortion patterns that are there with regards to claiming our brilliance that is within us have to do with religious conditioning, cultural conditioning, and lineage pattern. Some of them are actually external control sources to keep us from realizing this. Because if we realize this, then in a way we're very uncontrollable. Right? Because if we realize our own brilliance, then we don't need an intermediary between us and pure source. We are it. There's nothing to, there's no need for an external party. It's just within us already. So I feel like those distortion patterns are there and they are kind of blinding. Another one that's really big is that of low self-worth or non-deserving of the brilliance. Like a lot of people will have a sense of their own brilliance, but feel like they don't really deserve it. So that's a really tough one for a lot of people. So when you have this, as you say, this mishmash of distortion patterns clouding, it's difficult to see within for what we truly are, actually. Yeah.
You know, the other thing you mentioned during your intro is comparing.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it's part of human nature.
Yeah.
Is as we go through life is how am I doing compared to
everyone else?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like, I'm not doing too well.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everybody else has kind of got the secret to the game, and I'm, in left field.
Mm-hmm.
So again, why is that? Why am I constantly trying to compare myself?
Well, that's a function of your ego mind. Okay, so the mind is the thing that just compares this to that. So pure thought without judgment. The ego is the part that judges, right? That I should be as good as someone else. I should be as popular. I should be as loved. I should be as successful. I should be as pretty. I should be as, wealthy, whatever it is, yeah, as someone else. And I feel like that's particularly true with social media. It's actually worse, I feel like, because what happens is that everyone portrays a certain part of themselves on social media that people are consuming, and then everyone tries to compare themselves, their internal selves, to what people are portraying. So it becomes this like, well, I'm kind of a mess, and what these people are portraying seems like total awesomeness. Am I the only one who screwed up here, right? And that messes people up. So you have the ego mind in there, you have people's pain bodies in there. So all those things, in addition to the distortion patterns that I mentioned before, can cause a real challenge in terms of claiming our own brilliance. And that's why, when we finally realize this, that's why it's such an accelerator, because all that becomes irrelevant. It just becomes irrelevant because that realization is at a much higher resonation. And as a result, the lower resonation levels become irrelevant because you're resonating much higher. Does that make sense? That realization. I don't mean from your mind, like, gee, I am brilliant within. I mean, I can say that over and over and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, the experiential realization of it, because you have yourself risen in vibrational level enough to actually have that experience. You've cleared enough of your distortion patterns that you can actually experience that. So it can't be taken away. It's just there now. And so all that other stuff becomes irrelevant. So another note I'd like to mention is that it's not like you never feel like that. Of course you do. We're human, right? It's easy. It's shockingly easy to forget our own brilliance. Even once you remember it, or claim it, or whatever you want to call it. It's easy to forget, shockingly easy. And then you just realize, oh, wait, okay, well, but you get faster at realizing, oh, wait a minute. Whatever I'm telling myself, the story of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not as good as them, or whatever, you get faster at catching it, and therefore you have more distance from it, and you're like, this is not true. It can feel very real, but it doesn't mean that it's true. And once you distinguish that, and I remember one time I was having this experience where I was having self-doubt, okay? And I was at the kitchen sink, and it felt very real. I mean, self-doubt is not a small thing. And so I was thinking, I can't even remember what it was about, but it was self-doubt about, I think, my abilities or what I was doing or whatever it was. And it felt very real as I was doing the dishes. And I remember saying to myself out loud, it's not true. Like, I know this feels really terrible right now, but it's just not true. I actually said it out loud to no one. And when I said that, I was like, that's true. Okay, I'm just gonna take a deep breath. I don't know what part of me this is. This is likely detox. It's likely a strengthening. Okay, I see it. I'm going to choose to not believe it right now because it's not true, even though it feels really real. I just choose in this moment to not succumb to this story that I'm telling myself. So that actually stopped it. It was enough of a pattern interrupt to stop it. So you get faster at it, even though it seems harder at the beginning. Yeah.
So I'm curious, as people do this work, and I could see the relationship between frequencies, vibrations, and that recognition of that brilliance. So as people work with you, do you get a sense or feeling of maybe their level of brilliance?
Yes.
As to how much they actually are open? To their own brilliance?
Yeah, and sometimes what's really lovely is I can see their brilliance, like their potential. Does that make sense? So I see their distortion patterns, or I'm using the word see, but it's not really like I see something. Let's call it perceive. Okay. So I perceive their brilliance, their potential, what they truly are. And that's really magnificent because they're just remembering it. So it's almost like a bit of a cheering on, it's like you can get there because you're worthy of it. And what's funny is that most people just don't feel like they're worthy of their brilliance. It's the number one thing. I'm not worthy of my own brilliance. And it's yours, it's you. And even so, for example, I'm going to take this in sort of to a left field, but even, for example, when my aunt, who's my father's sister, when she passed away, I helped her cross over, right, when she died. And what happened was, she was very conditioned by her religion, so she was afraid to die because she thought she was going to go into purgatory or something not good. And so she was afraid. And so I surrounded her with pure source, and I just said to her, all you have to do is look. And because this brilliance is you, because it was kind of like the way I perceived it was the brilliance was all around her, which is pure source, and it was coming out through her, which is herself, right? Herself merging with pure source. So it was coming, like radiating out of her and was all around her. But she wouldn't look down to see her own brilliance. She was afraid to look down. And I kept saying to her, don't be afraid, this is you. There's nothing to be afraid of. This is yourself. And so eventually, she did look. I had to check back with her. I went away for about an hour, and I checked back in meditation. And then she finally looked. And when she did, she said to me, it's so beautiful. And I'm like, yes, and it's you. And it took her that long to get to that point. And that's the thing of like, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not worthy. I'm like, it is you. It is you.
So with your work, people are given the golden opportunity to have that realization at the age of 15 or 25 or 30 instead of on their last breath.
Yeah. Or even 4. Little kids pick it up really quick.
Yeah.
They can. Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So they get that kind of that essence of who I am.
Yeah. Well, with some of the little kids who are being born now and are now, some of them are like in their, getting to be their teens right now. They they came in at a time when consciousness was higher. So they could enter at a higher level of consciousness. So the beings that they are of a higher order in a way, and so they don't have the same level of forgetting. So it's easy for them to remember their own brilliance, to see within them the magnificence of the all that is, and know that that is part of them intrinsically, that they are that. And it's not like they go around being like, I'm so cool because I am that. I mean, I guess some kids could, but the kids who really get it, they just know it, actually. And as a result, what's really cool is when they claim that, they won't be disrespected by adults, because they won't have somebody abuse them, because they're just like, I'm not having that, because I know the glory of what I am. Like, you can't take that from me. I won't allow it. And they're not necessarily punkish about it. They're just clear, you know? And I appreciate that about them, because they don't have to wait till they're like you say, 25, 30, 65, whatever, on their last breath to get there. And what's lovely about them remembering that is it helps all of us too, right? All of us that remember help the collective, because we're one. The more of us that remember at a higher resonation, the more it helps the collective. We think we're doing this just for ourselves, and we are to some degree, but it also buoys the collective because we are one.
So, question. When people get to that point where they actually awaken to their own brilliance, would you say chances are they won't fall back asleep? That chances are they'll live the rest of their journey in that awakened state of knowing who they are, their brilliance. Is that true? Or?
Well, I would say it's sort of like in degrees. So once you have that realization, it doesn't really go away, but you forget a lot. I mean, I forget it still, you know? I mean, we're human. The veil's pretty thick.
I think the reason I ask that is, we have these flashes of brilliance. It's like, oh my God. You know, it's like, did I say that? You know, and then 10 minutes later, it's like, what did I say? You know?
Exactly. But, or in meditation, you'll have moments of real expansion, and you'll feel like, oh wow, that's me. Or you'll just be looking at the sky or a mountain range, you'll be like, wow, this is magnificent, and so am I.
So it is a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
So it's not like just a thunderbolt.
Well, it hasn't been for me. I mean, I don't.
And I would assume probably not for most people.
Yeah, and I don't think you stay in this like amazing awakened state forever, glowing with like halos around you and angels singing. At least, I mean, that's not been my experience.
Well, that's disappointing.
Sorry. Anyway, we're human, so we forget all the time. And it's just like I said, you get faster at remembering, and you don't fall as prey as much to your mind and to your emotions that tell you that you are something else, which are really just a reflection of the distortion patterns that we are still continuing to clear. And I'd just like to note that a distortion pattern, the way that we use the word distortion sounds negative. Sounds negative, right? Like it's a negatively charged word. I just like to clarify what distortion means. So distortion is simply the thing that separates us from the oneness. Like it's a lower vibrational level that creates separation from the oneness. We are separate from, because we're in bodies. So we need distortion patterns because we are not part of the oneness. We're embodied, right? We're separate. So distortions aren't necessarily bad. They're just it's just things that keep us separate from the oneness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember where I was going with that, but anyway, I wanted just to make that distinction.
Yeah.
So the emotions and the thoughts we have are reflections of these distortion patterns, and we get faster at catching them.
Yeah.
And that gives us distance and mastery over them. And therefore we can clear it even faster. So it's really awesome.
So I'm going to circle all the way back
Great.
to where you started.
Awesome.
And the other thing that you mentioned was birthright.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that each and every human, as a birthright, has this brilliance about
Yeah,
it.
because it's what animates you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is you. It is you. And so is your identity. But this brilliance is you. It is your birthright because it is what animates you. And so I would say that it is a process. It is something once you have a real, and I don't mean it like I said mental, an experiential feeling of like, holy moly, this really is me. Without comparison to anyone else, like this is the glory that I am, this magnificence is me. It can't be taken, and you might forget it, but that somewhere residually in the back of your experience is that. And once that happens, it changes the game. Because then you can remember it more easily.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there constantly. Yeah.
You know, I think the other thing that happens is once you start to have some of those experiences, your desire to compare yourself to others drops off completely. Why would I compare myself?
Yeah.
Because I'm the whole package.
Yeah, and so are they.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're magnificent, and I'm magnificent. It's awesome.
And we're all unique and
in
different.
different ways.
Yeah.
And part of the oneness. It's both.
Well, thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group, and each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration. Brilliance is your birthright. So this will be on claiming your brilliance. So bringing your attention, please, first to your body, becoming aware of your body, the heaviness of it, how you're either sitting or standing or lying down, the tension in your body. The feeling of the fabric against your skin, the temperature of the air. Good. And now, bringing your attention to the space that is your solar plexus between your belly button and the base of your sternum. With your attention here, let's take one single breath together. So you're going to inhale, hold your breath in at the top of your breath for a count of 5. And whenever you're finished with that count of 5, on your own time, you're going to release all the air out of your lungs and hold your breath out for a count of 5. And whilst we're waiting for the mastermind to gel, continuing to hold your attention in your solar plexus, breathing normally. And for those of you who are new, please note that I'm working on you at the group, and the subgroup level. And that I'll be making noises on my end. So you'll hear me hum or yawn or exhale sharply. And that's how I remove the distortion patterns. At this time, and I'm working more and more in silence as I work with higher and higher level frequencies, which is of a benefit to you, even if you're not aware of it, because it allows me to move you further, faster, and with less detox. So that is always a good thing. Good. Now that the mastermind has gelled, keeping your attention in your solar plexus, let's go ahead and ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And that question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, imagining, sensing, feeling, or becoming aware of a brilliance deep within the center of your body that starts to shimmer and get brighter. Expanding outwards into all of your cells, through your bones, radiating out through your flesh, the pores of your skin, and into the space between your physical body and your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length all around you. And on my end, I'm working at source level to increase your natural connectivity or your natural bandwidth. So bumping you a level up in terms of the frequencies you can take in from pure source. Very good. All right. So bringing your attention, please, to your xiphoid process, which is right at the base of your sternum. Your sternum is that big, thick bone in the center of your chest where your ribs meet in front of your body. And when you go from the edge or the end of the bone of the sternum into the flesh, it's a little bit tender or sore. That point is your xiphoid process. All right. So the first distortion pattern is self-doubt. Okay, so you don't trust yourself, you have self-doubt, and as a result, you don't see the brilliance that you are, or don't experience it, because if you did, you wouldn't have self-doubt. So let's just remove the self-doubt which keeps you from seeing or experiencing the brilliance that you are. Right behind that is the frequency of low self-worth and non-deserving of the brilliance that you are. It's okay that everyone else is brilliant, but not okay for you. Like, you can't imagine that you could possibly be this brilliant. Please note that if I say something that resonates with you, it's likely you, and if I say something that you really react against, and it couldn't possibly be you, it's likely you. So I invite you to be open to that possibility and to explore it. So addressing this low self-worth, non-deserving, let's remove this. So keeping your attention on that xiphoid process. Removing this. Yep. Very nice. Good. Bringing your attention now, please, to your entire solar plexus between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Yep. In fact, we're going to extend that scope from your belly button all the way to your heart space. Yeah. So this is a distortion pattern of resistance to, or let's call it, or discomfort with one's own brilliance, which seems kind of odd, but that's what's happening here. So you're like uncomfortable with this being you, or for a small subgroup of you, you're uncomfortable in being or recognizing this brilliance because it might hurt someone else's feeling or make them feel bad or make them feel less than. Okay. So all those things are not particularly helpful because it doesn't really buoy anyone up at all, including yourself. So let's just remove this so you can have the choice, if you would like, without this frequency pattern running, to experience your brilliance, which will then naturally, because you are of a higher resonating order, buoy other people up. It only serves the greater collective for you to be of a higher frequency level. So let's remove this. All you have to do is be aware of the space between your belly button and your heart space. Good. So in that same space between your belly button and your heart space. Okay, so these are lineage, religion, and control, cultural patterns that are control patterns about the appropriateness of being the full expression of who you are. Okay? Or more specifically, the inappropriateness of it. Okay, so let's remove this. Yeah, very nice. If you can now please imagine a tube running from the very base of your pelvic floor all the way up through the core of your being and out through the crown of your head. So what we're going to do is you're going to imagine that this tube is filled with either a color or a tone or sound, a feeling or a brightness. And this color, tone, feeling, or brightness is you, your essence, in connection with pure source. So whatever you imagine, whether it shows up here as you connect or become more aware of your connection to pure source, is perfect. What's going to happen as we work together is that the color, sound, feeling, or brightness is going to intensify in this tube. And as it does so, it's going to radiate right out of that tube into your flesh and out of your skin into your spirit body. Okay? So here we go. I'm helping you.
that whole sphere from the tube all the way out into the sphere is vibrating with that color, tone, feeling, or brightness. Beautiful. So a good exercise to do is when you're feeling self-doubt, or if you don't feel great about yourself, is to imagine that tube from deep within glowing outwards and into the sphere that is your spirit body. So now, bringing your attention, please, to your solar plexus. Just managing your pain body. Good. Everyone take a deep breath in, hold it for a second or two, and then release it with some sound, like Wonderful. I look forward to meeting you at the next. I'm going to leave you in the space, rather, for as long as you like, and I look forward to meeting you on the next GFC.